how did you get your customers? Like, I know your MVP isn't launched publicly yet. I know the answer, but
sorry. I had a similar jumper to this, and on the back it literally just said, "Tap me on my shoulder if you want to hang out." And literally, I just walked up and down the riverside in London with this jumper. For a few hours, I didn't get no taps. And then after a while, when it was peak period where people were finishing work, etc., I got firstly I got up to 30 taps to hang out, and had 30 random strangers hanging out with me just because they saw, tap me on my shoulder, I'm free to hang out. And they did.
I believe post-COVID world will be super social because, well, for example, Airbnb was founded in a crisis period in 2008, and no one believed, and everyone said no one has money to travel. But after the crisis, Airbnb boomed.
2 days ago, I was having a talk about the future of tourism, and somebody said, "What do you think about tourism at this period?" And I said, because when people become thirsty, they drink twice more water later.
Super excited to start the second session of Enterprise Creators Club. We have two amazing guests here. They are very talented founders of Meetup apps. Each of them have quite a lot of similarities and as well as lots of differences. So we're going to use this chance to discuss the industry, the market, what's happening in the culture, and the trends, and what's the future. And I won't waste time, and I'll give a chance for Joshua to introduce himself, and then Lusine. Please, Joshua.
Hello, my name is Joshua Rafe Marshall, and I'm the founder of GlueLife. And GlueLife is a real-time meetup spontaneous app where we aim to create trust with strangers in the nearby radius to meet up with common goals, interests, and motives. And this is basically what we're trying to do is create a new version of the calendar-based RSVP model that Meetup.com and Facebook events use, and basically adjust it so it suits real-time connectivity. So that's what we're trying to do. So yeah, this is GlueLife, and Joshua Rafe Marshall.
And Joshua, why did you choose to start this initiative?
Okay, so there was many reasons. I used to work in the music industry, and for personal reasons as well. But what I found was on the event side of things, I used to work with a lot of artists, and when we were trying to break a lot of new artists, they didn't have a lot of fan base or following. So it was very hard to try and get foot traffic to their offline events. And so with Facebook events, we would probably get, say one artist will probably get 3,000 RSVPs of people saying that they're going to turn up to the event. And it could scale right down to 50 people actually turning up to the event. So I saw a problem that needed to be fixed in terms of how do we, in an event like that or a case like that, how do we get real-time foot traffic to bump up the numbers here and now? And then the more I saw that kind of goal or that kind of gap in the market for a real-time event app, I saw how it could work on a personal level in terms of how it can help people move into a new city, people that probably suffer with loneliness. It's a broad spectrum of how this real-time kind of connectivity offline can play a big part in people's lives. And the final one was, I work with a lot of young people. So one of the main generations that I work with is Generation Z. And one of the pointers through interviewing them was pretty much they are the first generation that grew up online in the world with the internet. And they're so used to, my generation, I'm 30 by the way, my generation pretty much grew up with stranger danger, kind of. So you be careful who you talk to, don't talk to strangers that you don't know, stick with family, friends, or work colleagues, etc. Generation Z, they have a different behavior pattern, which allows them, because of the online connectivity that we're so used to with social networks, such as Snapchat, games such like Fortnite, they allow people to pretty much build trust with strangers. Along with Airbnb as well. Airbnb's literally open the door to allow strangers to come into your home and sleep in your bed, etc. So there's lots of new behavior patterns that I feel like it's now suitable for Generation Z to have. They expect the same connectivity with strangers and people that they don't know online, offline. So that's what GlueLife is trying to do, merge the two expectations.
All makes sense. Thank you. Thank you. Lusine, maybe if you could quickly introduce yourself as well, and the company oores, and why you chose this track in the current phase of your life.
Okay, hi, my name is Lusine. I'm the founder of oores. Oores is a spontaneous meetup app for friends that uses AI to suggest custom meetup spots. The idea came to me while I was studying, actually 3.5, 4 years ago, when during breaks or lunch hour, I would be out and none of my close friends were available to meet up, but I didn't want to go home or do something alone. But actually, I went home or did something alone because I didn't know that someone like me, one of my friends, maybe not close friends, was actually nearby and also ready to meet up. I searched for similar apps for a year, if I remember correctly, and I found some, and I started using some with my friends, but they didn't solve the problem I wanted them to solve, so I decided to make it myself. And I've been working on this consistently for about a year, and we've launched already about a month ago. So that's it. We're launched on App Store.
Thank you, Lusine. So to start with, when researching the Glue and oores, we have realized that there is one main common thing in the two startups, that you kind of prioritize the instantaneity, the real time, and the unplanned events. So I wanna know, like, what's your thinking on that, whether that's one of the main directions you are taking, and if yes, like, what was the reason that you think that unplanned and instantaneous events, like real-time connectivity, is the future and is the trend in the current landscape of the market?
Well, I can tell something. I don't know if you're, I won't say that it is a trend or in any given time in life there would be some consistent trend, but there is this app called Clubhouse that raised $12 million in Silicon Valley from Andreessen Horowitz. To this day, they don't even have the app, but their tagline is like spontaneous chat room. So after this investment, everybody in Silicon Valley started talking that spontaneity and instantaneity is like the future for social apps. But I don't think that we should look like that. I think you should look like, what problem are you trying to solve? Because for like older generation, maybe 30 plus, I don't think that this will work, no matter if there is a trend or not, because according to my, at least, user interviews, anyone above like 30, 35 usually doesn't get the idea. But we're trying to solve a problem of like developing and nurturing your relationships with people that you know, but you're not very close with. I think this is I'm not very familiar with Joshua's app, but I think this probably is the main difference, because as I heard, his his app is mostly for strangers, like connecting strangers, and my solution is for people that you already know but are not very close with, and usually to plan something with someone you're not very close with is awkward at least. So when you give them a chance to meet spontaneously, you kind of imitate the event of running someone, bumping into someone on the street and like on spot deciding to grab a coffee or something. And it's easier to nurture early relationships this way than like to plan. So my short answer is I don't look at this like a trend. I just look like what problem and for whom I'm trying to solve, and whether this spontaneity will benefit to this user or not.
Joshua, what's your take on this? Thank you, Lusine. It makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. It's a similar answer. I feel it's a problem. So spontaneity, I feel there's a lot of things that are out of our control in our everyday life. So when events happen that play a part in derailing certain plans, sometimes there could be medical reasons why people are not available at a certain time. There's a lot of events that can happen. COVID-19, for instance, just showed why it's so important for the need to be alternative to plans, to set plans. And I feel, I wouldn't call it a trend, I just call it a growing understanding of what the internet has allowed us to do. And it's allowed us to develop new behavioral patterns, new trust. It's allowed us to create trust in a different way that we've never had before, in terms of connectivity with other people that we know, with strangers, etc. And I feel what's happening now is people are starting to see that. And the one thing COVID-19 did, especially with the event of there was a lot of the users that I started talking to over the last couple months were people that actually got stuck in England. So now they had a lot of time on their hands. And even though it was an online connectivity session we had, they needed the spontaneity to happen of meeting someone now that was going through a similar experience as them. So I feel it's just the way life is unfolding, along with the development of the internet, has created a whole new understanding of what we can actually achieve together worldwide and locally, in terms of the spontaneous events. But I agree, I don't think it's a trend. I just think it's a better understanding, and it's something that's always been there. We just used these spontaneous behaviors in very secluded environments like bars, university environments, library environments where you were able to create trust because you're both on a common ground. And I feel like our apps will allow people to now take that outside of the common ground, like a bar or a university campus, onto the streets, just based on the new safety features that can be developed. But yeah, I do agree. It's not a trend. I feel like it's just a developed behavior and a problem that's been needed to solve. So yeah, I do agree.
Perfect. So if you would ask yourself, what is the most innovative solution that you have in your product, what would it be? Is it in the business model, or it's in technology, or?
For me, it would be the ML algorithm that we're writing that learns user behavior, their meetups patterns, and suggests meetup spots, but thus eliminating the burden of choosing, okay, where shall we go? What shall we do? Because that is a question that pops up a lot when people are spontaneously deciding to like hang out.
So how does it work?
Well, we collect data like when does a user meet up with which users, where do they like to go, from which point to which point. And after, this is not integrated, we're in data collection phase. After, it will have it's called content-based recommendation model, where the model will suggest one place that it thinks will suit you best based on your past experience, on this current user's past experience. And with each iteration, it will learn whether this new suggestion was good or bad, and then suggest better spots. After that, it would be good. I mean, I'm not sure, maybe a year later, when we have like significant user base and data, where you can not just show places based on this user's past experience, but based on other similar users' likes and dislikes. This is a very robust system that Netflix uses right now to suggest new content to you. It used to, if I'm not mistaken, it used to show you content based on your past experience, but right now it also shows you content based on other users similar to you. So this is it.
Nice.
What about you, Joshua?
Okay, so I would say it would have to be our user journey and our business side for advertisement journey, user journey, is pretty much merged together. So what we would hope to create, our USP will be pretty much, because our user journey will be real-time offline events. The motives that do pop up will be advertisement from local establishments. So say if we had a pizzeria that pretty much had an offer or just recently launched. So along with the user finding a motive to do, local businesses will be able to promote their services and their events that allow the user to, in real time, attend their events. So it merges the two spontaneous end results of what the user and the business wants. The business wants foot traffic, the user wants something to do. They both will be able to, in the same time, post something that allows them to both connect with each other. And our USP will be mostly the real time, and that's something that I feel lacks on Facebook events and Meetup.com. And with that, have you both used Meetup.com before?
I haven't used it, but I know how it works.
You're aware of Meetup? Yeah. So one of the main things that I realized on Meetup.com is that they've done a good job at connecting people through similar interests. But with how social media advanced and the value of content creation, one of the points that I really wished, as a user myself of Meetup.com, I wish they had some form of content creation. So instead of me having to go on Meetup.com, create the event, manage my numbers of who's attending, on the same platform, I would have loved to been able to create a video content, picture content that's shareable throughout the internet. So, and that's something I feel like TikTok has done well. And my idea of what GlueLife will be is a sort of a merge of content creation and event participation on the same platform. And I think that's a very powerful tool that allows a different user experience for the user, because at the same time, they are finding a motive to do spontaneously, and at the same time can spontaneously create content while they're enjoying that experience at the same time, instead of having to leave the app to go to Instagram or to go to their default browser photo or video recorder on their phone or TikTok or etc. They can use GlueLife to create the event, and that way as well, it adds another medium for advertising, etc., to be built upon the content creation at the time of the users enjoying that experience. So that's kind of what we're trying to merge. Hopefully I can say it a bit clearer in the future, but yeah, that's a major point that I feel make our app very different to the two that I've picked out. Has kind of, you know, the in the same market, so Facebook events and Meetup.com.
You know, it's not a secret that in Meetup apps, it's pretty hard to get into the market, because basically, like, if you have, for example, like 10 users using it in Australia, like you basically lose the users, because it doesn't make sense. They're not gonna it won't work. You need to have lots of users immediately when you launch. So that's kind of the main struggles of the Meetup apps. And the question is, what's your go-to-market strategy? Like, have you launched? Are you planning, or have you launched directly, like without having like 3,000-4,000 users or 10,000 users? Also, like, did you start with a niche market, or like did you take larger market? What was your approach to this? And I know Joshua did some crazy stuff, and he has lots of users. And Lusine, I know she managed to get some users before. And so, could you please tell more about your experience with early users and with the niche market, etc.?
I think that there are two paths to a successful like social app. The first is you have hundreds of millions of dollars beforehand, like TikTok, for example. They poured a lot of money into getting early user base. Or if you're an early founder, you have to hack. So I don't think that it's about having just a lot of users in one place to succeed, because you can actually have a lot of users and it still doesn't take off. I believe that if you go like from niche, as you said, like niche market to another market, it does a better job. And by that I mean like very close, very small communities. And for our app, I've restricted. I mean, you can access from other countries, but you can do anything if you access like from UK, for example. Right now, only in Armenia, and besides being only in Armenia, I thought that this was enough, but this isn't. So we're from next release, we'll be letting people only from ID community to log in. They have to prove that they're like software engineers, product managers, or this community. And then like community from community, hikers, bikers, moviegoers, people that do a lot of meetups, will like with each and every iteration we'll add another community. Why? Because you're right, but it's not just about location. Okay, if you have like 100 users and each from different country, this makes like totally no sense. But even if you have 100 users in just one location, it still won't take off. This is from my experience. These people in my like in the experience of my app, these people have to know each other. But in Joshua's case, this is not the case, because he's making an app for strangers. So it I think may be enough. He may articulate it better. But for us, these people have to know each other. This is why our go-to-market strategy is like very close communities from this exact place, a city, and like, as I said, like bikers, hikers, moviegoers, or in our case, IT community. Why like IT software community? Because I'm very well immersed into this community, and I know who to approach and how to take this off.
Thank you. What about you, Joshua? Could you please tell a bit more about your experience?
My experience was pretty much understanding, like she said, a lot of these types of apps sometimes do take a lot of money to get off the ground. But I agree with her in saying that one of our go-to strategies was starting in a niche market, but then understanding just the core value of what our app has to offer, which was creating trust between users offline and strangers. And what we've done is pretty much, it's very similar. We're gonna pretty much target small niche markets. So one of our recent interns has put together an idea of, in Knightsbridge in London, quite a few people get together for a car meet, and we were going to basically use the host, and which runs a similar kind of format as GlueLife, where they have spontaneous events, and we were basically just going to host small niche events for different niche, like the car meet, to create a buzz. Again, agreeing with her, this type of app needs millions of users to make it really, really work. But I feel that's the reason why eventually we'll add the content creation side, because I feel with TikTok, even though they spent a lot of money, one of the main things that they got right, that a lot of apps didn't get right in the beginning, was they understood how the virality of their app was so important. And what TikTok done was allow their content to be shared on other platforms. So they didn't prevent it from being on Snapchat platform. They didn't prevent it from being on Instagram, any of the other social media platforms, YouTube. And the virality of that allowed people to now understand and see it in its truest form, how free the app was. And I think we will try and take a similar route. So our goal, it would be, again, we'll start off with very small numbers, but with those small numbers, we would want to create, we would want the users to create content that makes our content very different to the content that you see on Instagram or Snapchat.
But how did you get your customers? Like, I know your MVP isn't launched publicly yet. I know the answer, but
sorry. Literally, I had a similar jumper to this, and on the back it literally just said, "Tap me on my shoulder if you want to hang out." And literally, I just walked up and down the riverside in London with this jumper for a few hours. I didn't get no taps. And then after a while, when it was peak period where people were finishing work, etc., I got firstly, I got up to 30 taps to hang out, and had 30 random strangers hanging out with me just because they saw, tap me on my shoulder, I'm free to hang out. And they did. So that went well. And that was pretty much the app, the random hangout. So we trialed it again the next day, and the numbers went up. I went to a more dense area. Started walking up and down with the same jumper, and I had a few more people wearing the same jumper in different areas, and those people got tapped on their shoulder to hang out as well. And then before we know it, we probably had, like, I think the number was 754 people over a month period, just over a month period, where pretty much they were all strangers, and now we knew each other, and now we were randomly hanging out with each other. And that was just off wearing jumpers and t-shirts. So that kind of allowed me to understand how easy how the connectivity of strangers will work. And what we are trying to do now is trying to imitate that same seamlessness within the app. Obviously, they were able to see me in the physical and read it. So it will be working out how to get that same connectivity and that same seamlessness of seeing a stranger, wanting to randomly hang out on the app and make it work. But that worked very well. It was perfect for understanding the core feature of GlueLife. And the jumper allowed the trust to be created. Because if I didn't have this jumper on, and I just randomly went to someone and say, I'm free to hang out, do you want to hang out? I think there would have been a bit more of a, this guy's crazy. So yeah, the jumper saying, I'm stating that, gave them the trust. And yeah, hopefully that's what GlueLife will replicate. So yeah.
Amazing. Just one more thing here. So how many pre-users did you manage to get before launching? I know Lusine also did that, and Joshua, you also did before launching. How many users did you manage to get before?
So right now, because we've used lots of different platforms and we've met in person, we've counted the numbers to be three. Without me quoting wrong, we're out of just over 3,000 users, but it might be more because we've got like lots of people that we've basically took their number in person. A lot of people signed up online, and it was literally just a landing page. And I think what happened was COVID-19 helped because there's not a lot of events, but a lot of people, like she said as well, like even with your friends and not her experience when she wanted to do something and there was no one available to meet up. There's millions of people that, especially in urban cities, that experience that same problem. And I think even more so now, that number is going to be even greater with a lot of people now working from home. And the talk that, yeah, with Twitter's news that they said that a lot of people are going to be working remotely, I think an app like this and an app like hers is definitely going to be needed. Yeah, I think both of our apps is very perfect. It's like the right timing. Like the timing for these types of apps couldn't be better. So yeah, just over 3,000 users. Sorry for the long answer.
Awesome. And what about you, Lusine? Was it a similar figure for you? Like, I mean, the pre-orders before, like, it's actually
yeah, we put the app to App Store pre-order. They have a feature called pre-order before like the app becomes available, and it was I can give you an exact number. It was 3,447
Nice.
in 2 months. So we put it in like late March and early June. We released it.
That's crazy.
But besides, well, it's okay. I expected more numbers. So I wanted to agree with Joshua on something that I believe post-COVID world will be super social because, well, for example, Airbnb was founded in a crisis period 2008 and no one believed and everyone said no one has money to travel, but after the crisis Airbnb boomed. So I believe that post-COVID world is super social and people will be in need to find more ways to communicate and like restore the lost time.
I agree with you, Lusine, because 2 days ago I was having a talk about future of tourism, and somebody said, "What do you think about tourism at this period?" And I said, because when people become thirsty, they drink twice more water later.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, COVID is suspending something, postponing something, but I believe it is not changing that much. And another question that I would like to ask is about the business model and your plan of monetization, because the social networking apps, I know that one of the most difficult things for social networking products is to define the monetization plan, whether it will be based on subscription, it will be from advertisements, or you expect another sources of income, whatever. What's your plan in this term?
For us, I would say right now the app is free, but we will be testing two business models, and whichever works, maybe both of them will work. The first one is a subscription-based model for users. So they'll pay for premium features, like if you know Tinder, there is Tinder Passport where you can change your location. We're having like premium features like going into ghost mode where no one can see you on map, but you still can see available people. Features like organizing meetups with more than 5 people, and similar like premium features which you can probably find in most dating apps. And the second is, as I said, the ML algorithm will show you like the best meetup spot, just one spot. But like in Yelp, there is also a sponsored place where you can go hang out. So in future, it will show 2 places. I have like this strong idea that it will never be more than 2, because the main thing we're trying to solve is eliminate the choice and the burden for people to like decide, okay, where shall we go? That's why it will have one like best location that we've chosen for these people to meet up, and one sponsored.
That's nice.
So,
mine's similar to Lusine, which is we'll have a subscription-based model. It'll be free for when it'll begin with being free, and then we'll have a subscription-based model where they can pay for upgrades, similar to Lusine, and they can basically add. So there'll be different tiers of subscription models where they'll have access to different features. So one might be event organizer subscription, where you're able to organize events or meetups of over 30 people. And then the other subscriptions will be more personalization upgrades, where say if you wanted to use the app for dating, you'll be able to personalize your meetup to specifically say, I would like this person, this gender, this specific age. We'd have a lot of freedom to personalize the whole experience to what you want to do. But it will be a subscription-based model, so freemium business model. And the second will be, again, some sponsored posts that will appear similar to how the user motives posts appear. So they will basically be seamlessly against each other. So even though we would in small have a line stating that it's a sponsored post, they'll both look similar to each other. So it could be when one person's finding a motive to meet up with other people, someone might want to be on the app by themselves and they might not want to meet other people, but they want something to do by themselves. They'll be able to use the app and not feel alienated in terms of the experience when it comes to individual motives to find. So they'll be able to find motives through sponsored posts. And with the sponsored posts, it will be like a subscription-based model for the business side, for the advertisements, and we want to try and do it. We would have to test it, but we basically want to try and do affordable advertising for. So a lot of the interviews I've had with the local businesses, they would only be able to afford, say, £30 a month or something for their advertising spend, especially for the small businesses, especially the ones that got hit very hard by the COVID-19. So what we were thinking of is trying to do a subscription-based model that suits their viewership in terms of reach, but at the same time their spend. It will be very hard to try and put together something that works, but I want to try and do some affordable kind of advertising model that suits the current situation now, and it will be a subscription-based model that allows them probably like a certain amount of sponsored posts to show at a certain peak time, and then there'll be different variables of packages that they can use depending on their budget. Subscription-based freemium model. And sorry, go on.
But I would like to know, what are your expectations in terms of bringing the product to profitability? Because there are many products that do not have profit for the first 3 years, let's say. So what are your plans? When do you expect to have profit?
We hope to have profit possibly year 1 or we're aiming for year 2 to have profit. And with that, we're trying to figure out, because unlike Lusine, we're probably in a more delicate space because we're dealing with strangers. It'll be to build trust on her app will probably be easier because she's using people people know each other, or in a short form. So what we would probably do is we might, even a small fee, create a small fee of a validation cost that allows us to validate the user, so that just based on safety issues, on the app, but we'll charge them a small cost, even though that will be free, which gives other users more trust in terms of the connectivity between strangers. But our aim with everything, especially with COVID-19, we're hoping that it works in our favor. Unfortunately, it's happened, but we're hoping that, like you said, the quote with when people are thirsty, they drink twice as much. It leads into a burst of realization for the need of mine and Lusine's app. So yeah, profitability year 2 we're aiming for.
I would say as soon as we start, as the ML algorithm starts giving out locations, so users will see a lot of value. And I think it'd be like in 5 or 6 months. My aim won't be like to cover all costs or to make a huge money, but just to see if this is something people are willing to pay, because sometimes you can postpone paid features, just saying, hey, at first we'll get a lot of users and focus on creating more value. But there are some companies that I know that focused on this, and like 4 years later learned that this is a good thing for users, but no one is willing to pay. So I'm not, for example, if my ideal would be, I don't know, $5 per month, I would maybe start charging just one, just to see if this is something that people are willing to pay. So in like 6 months.
And I have a small question, a very specific one for the startups. What do you think? What is your exit strategy? Which means, are you planning to build this product later to sell it, or you want to live with it, let's say 5-10 years?
Later, you mean when? 5-10 years is pretty late.
So what are your plans in general? Because you have the idea, you want to build something, but every startup at the end, or most of them, are being sold or they go for the IPO. What do you think? What is your vision?
Well, every successful startup, I think, gets to that point, and if we get to that point, that's a success. If you asked me like 2 years ago, I would say IPO, but right now I'm more inclined to selling exit. But it depends. I mean, it depends who is the buyer. For me, it won't be the price. It's more like who is going to be the buyer. And it depends. I mean, if in 2 years you get an offer, a good offer, you might just as well sell and focus on something else. But if it goes for like 5 or 10 years, you, I think, have to aim for something bigger. Because I know there was an app that sold to Facebook for $100 million after just like 8 months. It was called TBH. It was a social app, and if like we're talking about something like 1 or 2 years, I think selling and focusing on something else with like a previous success exit story is best. But if you're building something for like 10 years, then maybe an IPO. I can't tell right now. For the short term, it's definitely selling.
Okay.
Also, what's your take on this, Joshua?
I feel, just based on my personal experience, so I feel something like this app that creates connectivity offline, as easy as it does online, offers a lot of value. And because of that, I don't feel like I would have to go do the whole 10 years. And I have a very deep vision that I would like to try and execute to the problems I personally see. I would like to try and solve for the next generation. And this is an app that I wish I had when I was younger. So I don't think I would sell, because I feel like there's especially being that our apps, mine and Lucine's app, there's so much value in the fact that we start at the start of the user journey is offline. Even though it starts online, the actual start of the user journey is offline. I think there's so much value in that. And in terms of the whole connectivity, right now in England, we're going through a loneliness epidemic. And I know that there's some statistics that is happening in America as well. So I feel these kind of apps have value to balance out the internet. The internet is very new. It's, is it touching 30 years old now, the internet? Or give or take. And I feel like we're only just starting to understand the qualities and the negatives of the internet. And I feel an app like this will balance it out to make it just right, so the next generation can see have the full experience. And I feel, yeah, there's a lot of other add-ons that I would like to see and build around this app that I feel is needed a lot. So I'm gonna try and ignore the offers, and I don't think I would have anything else to do. So I feel GlueLife will be, until I'm not able to take it to the limit that I can take, and I feel like someone else has to step in to take it to where I see it going. I feel I'm gonna try go all the way, and try and not. I'll try and close my ears to the offers, etc. Like I've got something in my brain that I feel it will only be right to pay attention to what's in my brain and get it out and see if it works. So it's nervous. I'm nervous. This is something I've never done before, but yeah, one step in front of the other, and hopefully it works. Baby steps until, yeah. So I don't think I would sell. And again, it will be a very long time if I sell. I need to get it to a certain standard first before I do, because these types of apps offer a lot of value to a lot of people. I feel like there's a lot of value that we take for granted in offline connectivity and person-to-person connectivity. So yeah.
Amazing. So let's finish the session with this positive talk of Joshua. Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot for joining, and thanks for sharing your journeys and answering a few questions about the market, discussing a couple of features, the trends, the future, and the potential. So thanks a lot. That's very helpful, and I think it will give a lot of value to the audience. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Inviting us.
Nice meeting you, Lusine, and
Nice meeting you too, Joshua.
And good luck as well. And I'll check out your app.
You too. Thank you.